2 cops on the night shift. Then she looked at me differently. The thing about night shift is that it's honest in a way daylight never is. During the day, people pretend. They smile for security cameras, straighten their clothes when a patrol car rolls past, act like they've never done anything worse than roll through a stop sign. But at 2 in the morning, when the streets are mostly empty and the neon signs are buzzing, and the only thing keeping your eyelids open is bad coffee and habit, all the masks slip. That's what Jenny liked about it. Or maybe liked was the wrong word. She tolerated it better than most. Night shift suited the version of herself that wasn't built for brunch crowds and sunshine. And it suited Taylor, too. "Tell me we're not answering another welfare check for Chad with the loud Mustang," Taylor muttered, tapping her index finger on the center console as their cruiser idled at a red light. The radio crackled softly in the background, the dispatcher's voice drifting in and out over static. Jenny smirked, the motion small and mostly hidden in the glow of the dashboard. "You love Chad. He's your favorite." "He's my villain origin story," Taylor said. "Last week he called because his TV remote looked at him funny." Jenny huffed out a quiet laugh, looking out at the mostly empty intersection. In his defense, those universal remotes are confusing. Taylor turned her head, her profile momentarily lit by the passing glow of a bus stop ad. "Don't defend him. We're supposed to maintain standards in this city." Jenny glanced at her before the light turned green. Taylor's dark hair was pulled back in a low ponytail, a few strands escaping around her temples, catching the light like soft ink. She had that look she always wore on shift, focused, alert, but with a sideways humor that took the edge off everything. Partnered for 9 months now. 9 months of split coffee, shared silence, and bad jokes at worse hours. 9 months of learning how Taylor took her coffee, milk, no sugar. How she hummed under her breath when she concentrated on the computer. How she always loosened her duty belt the second they were back in the car. 9 months of pretending Jenny's stomach didn't do something weird every time Taylor smiled at her directly. The radio crackled again. "Unit 231, check suspicious vehicle, corner of Maple and 5th. Caller reports car parked with lights off and engine running for over an hour. Plate comes back clean." "That's us," Jenny said, picking up the mic. "Dispatch, 231 en route." She flicked on the lights, no siren, and pulled the cruiser into motion, the flash of red and blue painting the quiet street in brief, pulsing color. Taylor shifted in her seat, the easy banter folding into the familiar calm of work mode. "You want wheel or contact?" "I've got contact," Jenny said. "Your turn to watch my back." Taylor's mouth quirked. My favorite view, Jenny ignored the way that line hit her. Too quick, too sharp, too much. Taylor flirted with everyone. It was just how she was. Jenny had told herself that since their first week together. Still, heat crept up her neck, invisible under the high collar of her uniform. They turned onto Maple, the street half asleep. Old brick storefronts, a closed bakery, a flickering sign from the 24-hour laundromat humming in the cold air. "There," Taylor said, nodding ahead. A dark sedan sat at the curb, engine on, exhaust puffing faintly in the chill. No movement inside that Jenny could see. She parked a short distance behind it, angling their cruiser slightly. The familiar buzz of adrenaline woke up in her veins. Not enough to scare, just enough to sharpen. "Ready?" she asked. "Always," Taylor replied. They stepped out into the night together, boots hitting pavement in sync, the world narrowing to headlights, cold air, and the quiet, solid presence of the woman at Jenny's side. Something shifted then, not in the street, not in the car, but in the space between them. Jenny didn't have words for it yet. She'd find them later. For now, she moved. Taylor moved with her, and the night watched. Day of the car. No movement, no one's reacting. Jenny reached for the handle, locked, and sighed. Dispatch didn't mention anything medical, but Taylor nodded, reading her mind. Could be someone passed out. Could be worse. They exchanged a look, quick, practiced, carrying all the silent language of seasoned partners. Jenny rapped on the window again, louder. Last warning. Still no response. She stepped back. Break or pry? Taylor assessed the door seam with the flashlight. Try pry. If it doesn't give, we break. Jenny fetched the Slim Jim from her belt and worked it into the gap. It resisted at first, stubborn, old, like everything else in this part of town. until it clicked and gave. She opened the door carefully, her other hand hovering near her holster. The interior lights flicked on. And the car was empty. Jenny blinked. What the? Taylor leaned down. Engine running, keys in the ignition. Heater on low, no bags, no phone, no anything. Jenny scanned the sidewalk, the storefronts, the narrow alley beside the laundromat. Empty, quiet. Someone left in a hurry, Taylor murmured. But why leave the engine running? Jenny frowned. Unless they plan to come back. They both stood there, listening to the steady rumble of the idle engine. The sound seemed too loud now, pressing against the night. After a moment, Taylor shut the door and let out a breath that fogged in the cold air. Could be nothing, could be something. Jenny nodded. Let's log it and do a sweep. They walked back to the cruiser, side by side, their breath forming twin clouds in the dim light. Most calls on night shift blurred together after a while. Noise complaints, drunk, college kids, the occasional half-cat, half-raccoon creature that Taylor swore was just a big rat. But tonight felt different, not because of the car, not because of the street, because of Taylor, because Jenny had felt the shift in her earlier. A change in the air, in the way Taylor looked at her, not playful, not flirty, not surface level. Something weightier, something real. Back in the cruiser, Taylor logged the call, her fingers tapping on the laptop keys with quick precision. Jenny watched her for a second, longer than a second, before looking away. She could feel Taylor glance at her, twice. Finally, Taylor closed the laptop and leaned back in her seat, the soft leather creaking around her. You okay? She asked. Jenny shrugged, eyes on the windshield. I'm fine. You're lying. Jenny's jaw tensed. I'm working. And I've worked with you long enough to know when you're thinking yourself into a spiral. Jenny exhaled, the sound tight. Just tired, Taylor hummed, a sound that didn't believe her for a second. Jenny. The way Taylor said her name, low, careful, warm, hit her more than she wanted to admit. Jenny kept her eyes forward. What? You've been different tonight. Jenny finally looked at her, and the second she met Taylor's eyes, she regretted it. Because Taylor wasn't flirting, wasn't teasing, wasn't amused. She was searching, concern mixed with something softer, something almost tender beneath it. And Jenny wasn't prepared for that. What does that mean? Jenny asked, voice coming out more defensive than intended. Taylor's gaze lowered, lingered on Jenny's mouth for a fleeting moment before returning to her eyes. It means, Taylor said slowly, that when I said my favorite view, you didn't roll your eyes at me. You looked at me like you didn't know what to do with the way you felt. Jenny's breath stalled. Taylor leaned in, not close enough to touch, but close enough that Jenny felt the warmth radiating off her. And Taylor added softly, I didn't look away. Jenny swallowed. Hard. Taylor. Blue and red flashed in their peripheral vision. A call came through dispatch. Unit 231, respond to disturbance at the Lantern Bar. Possible fight outside. Jenny tore her eyes away, grateful and furious at the interruption. She grabbed the mic. Dispatch, 231 en route. Taylor's voice brushed the space between them. Conversation isn't over. Jenny put the cruiser into drive, heart pounding. No, she whispered under her breath. It definitely wasn't. The Lantern Bar sat wedged between a pawn shop and a vape store. The kind of place that looked rough even on a Sunday morning. Never mind at 2:14 a.m. The neon sign flickered overhead as Jenny pulled up, casting the sidewalk in pulses of crimson and sickly blue. Two men shoved each other near the curb, voices raised, slurred. A woman stood a few feet away, arms crossed, clearly annoyed but not alarmed. A bouncer hovered at the doorway, with the resigned expression of someone who wanted nothing more than for people to act normal for once in their lives. Jenny stepped out of the cruiser, her boots hitting pavement with practiced confidence. The cold slapped her cheeks awake. Taylor unfolded from the passenger side with the same deliberate calm she always carried into conflict. Evening, gentlemen, Taylor called out, stepping between them with a presence that demanded authority. Take a breath and step back. The taller man threw up his hands. He took my jacket, the shorter one shouted. I was keeping it from falling. Jenny lifted a hand, silencing him. Both of you, against the wall, now. Something in her tone cut through the alcohol fog. They complied without argument. Taylor patted them down, found nothing but a vape pen and a lighter, then nodded to Jenny. Clean. Jenny pulled aside the woman who'd been watching. You the caller? Yeah, she huffed. They'd been circling each other for 20 minutes, yelling about that stupid jacket. Figured if one threw a punch, I'd end up a witness. Appreciated, Jenny said. Taylor joined her, brushing snow from her shoulders. Bar's ready to kick them out permanently. We can cite for disorderly, but honestly, they're just drunk and dramatic. Jenny sighed. Okay, verbal warnings, separate them, send them home. It didn't take long. 5 minutes later, both men were stumbling in opposite directions, muttering about loyalty and jackets and betrayal. The woman went back inside. The bouncer gave Jenny and Taylor a weary salute. When they got back to the cruiser, Jenny leaned against the door, breath fogging in the air, exhaustion catching up with her. Taylor watched her with a soft, unreadable expression. You want me to drive? Taylor asked. Jenny shook her head. I'm fine. You're lying again. Jenny exhaled sharply. Taylor, drop it. Taylor stepped closer, not enough to crowd her, just close enough that Jenny could feel her presence, warm, steady, impossible to ignore. No, Taylor said quietly. Not tonight. Jenny's pulse thudded. Why not tonight? Because something shifted, Taylor said, and pretending it didn't won't make it go away. Jenny looked at her then, really looked. The night wrapped around them, cold and quiet. But Taylor stood there like a heat source in human form. Steady, sure, unflinching. And Jenny could finally admit it. She was drawn to her. Had been for months, but tonight, something cracked wider. Jenny pushed off the cruiser and took a step toward her. You think this is simple? You think we just talk about it? Taylor didn't back up. I think we're adults who can stop pretending. Jenny's breath stuttered. We're partners. We're women, Taylor countered softly. Who feel things, big things. And I'm done acting like I don't. Jenny felt dizzy, like the ground shifted unevenly beneath her boots. Taylor's voice lowered. Tell me you don't feel it. Tell me I made it up. And I'll drop it for good. It was unfair. Too clean. Too honest. Jenny swallowed. Her voice barely emerged. I can't tell you that. For a moment, Taylor's expression flickered. Relief, warmth, something unguarded. Before she could say anything more, the radio crackled again. 231. Noise complaint near Riverside Apartments. Caller reports yelling. Jenny closed her eyes, letting out a breath that shook faintly. Duty first. Taylor nodded, but her gaze stayed locked on her. Yeah, duty first. They got back into the cruiser. Jenny gripped the wheel tighter than necessary, knuckles going pale. Taylor adjusted her seatbelt, glancing at Jenny from the corner of her eye. The air between them felt thick, electric, barely restrained. Jenny drove toward Riverside, the quiet hum of the engine filling the space their words couldn't. Taylor finally said, soft but certain, "This conversation isn't over." Jenny's voice came out low. "I know." And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of that. She was terrified of what it meant, but not afraid. Riverside Apartments was one of those complexes built fast and cheap in the early 2000s. Tan siding, narrow balconies, and lighting that flickered like it was on its last day. When Jenny and Taylor pulled up, the yelling was already audible, echoing off the concrete courtyard. A couple stood outside Building C, arguing loud enough to wake the dead. Nothing physical, nothing dangerous, just the kind of late-night fight couples have when they're tired and hurt and not listening. Jenny and Taylor approached with that shared calm they'd mastered months ago. Taylor took lead this time, speaking softly but firmly, walking the pair through a de-escalation dance that diffused the tension within minutes. Apologies were muttered, doors were closed, and peace returned to the courtyard. When they headed back to the cruiser, Taylor blew out a breath. Every shift needs one overly dramatic heartbreak at midnight argument. It's tradition at this point, Jenny chuckled under her breath. At least it wasn't another guy yelling at his porch light. That happened once. It happened 3 times. Same guy. Taylor paused mid-step. Oh, right, him. But the banter didn't carry the same tone as earlier, not with the weight of what they'd just admitted lingering in the air, hanging between them like breath in cold weather. Jenny could feel it at her back, Taylor's gaze, warm, certain, waiting. She unlocked the cruiser, and they both slid in. The silence wasn't comfortable, But it wasn't hostile either. It felt charged, like something was building, gathering pressure. The radio stayed quiet. No distractions this time. Jenny rested her hands on the wheel but didn't start the car. Taylor shifted, turning slightly toward her. "You're doing it again." Jenny kept her eyes forward. "Doing what?" "Fighting yourself." Jenny finally turned. "You're very sure of yourself." "No," Taylor said softly. "I'm just sure about you." Jenny felt it like a physical touch, low, steady heat spreading through her chest. She swallowed. "We could ruin everything." Taylor leaned in, elbows resting on her knees, voice gentle but unshakably honest. "Or we could stop pretending we don't want each other." Jenny's heart thudded in her ears. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Jenny," Taylor said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "I'm asking you to let me in." Jenny looked down at her hands, then at Taylor, really looked. At the determination in her eyes, at the softness beneath it, at the patience wrapped around every word. "This is a bad idea," Jenny murmured. Taylor's lips curved, sad and knowing. "But it's ours," Jenny inhaled sharply. "Taylor, what?" Taylor asked, leaning closer, her face inches away now. "Say it, whatever it is. I can take it." Jenny didn't move away, didn't look away, didn't breathe. "Tonight," Jenny said, her voice barely louder than the hum of the dashboard, "when you looked at me, really looked at me, I felt it." Taylor's breath hitched, the faintest tremor in her chest. "I know. And I don't know what to do with that." "You don't have to know," Taylor whispered. "You don't have to decide everything tonight. Just stop pretending." Jenny looked at her for a long moment, long enough to see the hope there, the fear there, the want there. Slowly, carefully, Jenny reached across the console and brushed her fingers against Taylor's hand. Taylor froze, not in fear, in relief so intense it softened every line of her face. Jenny let her fingertips linger, just barely. "This scares me," she said quietly. Taylor turned her palm upward, offering it, not grabbing, not pulling, just offering. "Good, means it's real." Jenny slid her fingers into Taylor's. Their hands fit together like they had been waiting for this moment, this exact moment, for months, maybe longer. Taylor let out a slow, shaky breath. "Jenny?" Jenny's voice cracked. "Don't rush me." "I won't," Taylor said immediately. "You set the pace." Jenny nodded, gripping her hand a little tighter. "Okay." They sat like that. Hands joined, breaths unsteady, hearts pounding beneath layers of uniform and restraint, while snow fell softly outside the windshield. A new call didn't come. The world didn't interrupt. For the first time all night, they had space. And they weren't running from it. Taylor's thumb brushed Jenny's knuckles. Barely there, but enough to spark heat low in her stomach. Jenny didn't pull away. Instead, she whispered, "Let's get coffee, somewhere quiet." Taylor blinked, surprised. "Now?" Jenny nodded. "Now." A smile spread across Taylor's face, slow and warm and absolutely devastating. "Yeah, okay, coffee." Jenny finally started the car, not to escape, but to begin. The only place open at 3 a.m. was a tiny 24-hour diner, wedged between a tax office and a thrift store. The sign buzzed faintly, one letter flickering in and out. The sillier spoo. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a lone trucker's rig and an ancient sedan that looked like it hadn't moved since the Bush administration. Perfect. Jenny parked in a quiet corner of the lot, the cruiser engine ticking as it cooled. They sat for a moment, neither moving, the weight of their joined hands still warm between them even though they'd let go before pulling in. "You sure about this?" Taylor asked softly. Jenny swallowed. "Yeah, I think I am." She wasn't sure what this meant yet. Coffee, a talk, a beginning. But whatever it was, she wanted it. Wanted her. They stepped out into the crisp night air and crossed the lot, their boots crunching on thin frost. A flicker of nerves twisted in Jenny's stomach. This felt more intimate than anything happening in the cruiser. More exposed. More real. Inside, the diner smelled like burnt coffee, fried everything, and nostalgia. A bored waitress with a high ponytail and dark circles under her eyes glanced up. "Sit anywhere," she said. "Menu's the same no matter what you're craving." Taylor smirked. "Comforting." Jenny led them to a booth in the back, sliding into the seat. Taylor took the one across from her, folding her hands together on the table. She looked nervous. Not Taylor's usual teasing confidence, not her work mode calm, something gentler, something vulnerable. "What?" Jenny asked when Taylor kept staring. Taylor shook her head, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I'm just seeing you, not Officer Ruiz. Just you." Jenny's cheeks warmed, and she hated how easily Taylor could get under her skin. "That's not fair," Jenny muttered. Taylor raised a brow. "Why not?" "Because you're too good at it." Taylor laughed softly. "You know how long I've been trying to get you alone off shift?" Jenny blinked. "What?" "That's not—" Taylor stopped, exhaled, and started again. "I mean, not like that." She lifted her hands in surrender. "Okay, maybe also like that. But mostly, I wanted a moment where we weren't answering calls, where you weren't shutting down every time you felt something." Jenny's heartbeat thudded. "I don't shut down." Taylor gave her a look. "You shut down harder than my old laptop." Jenny snorted. "Rude." "Accurate." The waitress dropped off 2 mugs and a carafe of coffee. "Refills are on autopilot," she said, then wandered away again. Jenny wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat seep in. Taylor's fingers toyed with a sugar packet, twisting it, then flattening it, then twisting it again. Nervous. Jenny wasn't used to seeing Taylor nervous. "It's not that I shut down," Jenny said finally. "I just didn't think you were serious." Taylor's head snapped up. "Jenny, I've been serious for months. You flirt with everyone." "I flirt with waitresses, Jenny. I don't flirt with my partner." Taylor leaned forward, voice low, steady. "Not unless it means something." Jenny inhaled slowly, the truth settling over her like a blanket she wasn't sure how to wear. "Why me?" she asked quietly. Taylor blinked. "What kind of question is that?" "A real one." Taylor didn't answer right away. She looked at Jenny like she was searching for the right words and finding none good enough. Finally, she said, "Because you're steady. Because you're smart. Because you care in ways you don't admit. Because every night when you take that first sip of coffee, you close your eyes like it's saving your soul." She paused, voice softening. "Because you're brave, and complicated, and honest even when you pretend you aren't." Jenny's throat tightened. "And," Taylor added, quieter still, "because every time you look at me, I feel it. Right here." She pressed 2 fingers to her sternum. Jenny stared. That was the thing. The moment. The shift she'd felt earlier. The thing she couldn't name. It was real. It wasn't one-sided. And it wasn't going away. "Taylor," Jenny said, her voice unsteady. Taylor reached across the table, not grabbing, not demanding, just offering her hand again, palm up. Jenny hesitated for one single breath. Then she placed her hand in Taylor's. Taylor exhaled like she'd been waiting for that moment for months. Maybe she had. Jenny tightened her grip. "I'm scared," Taylor nodded. "Me too, but I want this." Jenny looked down at their joined hands. "I do too." Taylor smiled, soft, warm, devastating. "Then that's enough for tonight." Jenny let herself smile back. For the first time at 3 a.m., in a diner that smelled like burnt coffee and old dreams, Jenny felt awake, wide awake, and she didn't want the night to end. The diner stayed quiet except for the low murmur of an old TV above the counter and the occasional scrape of a spatula from the kitchen. Jenny didn't know how long they sat there with their hands joined. Minutes? Longer? Time felt oddly suspended, like the night itself was giving them room. Taylor traced her thumb across Jenny's knuckles, slow and absent-minded, as if memorizing the shape of her hand. Jenny wasn't used to being touched like this, soft, intentional, reverent. It made her pulse thrum in a way she wasn't ready to admit out loud. When the waitress came by for refills, Taylor didn't pull back, neither did Jenny. The woman raised an eyebrow, smirked, and poured more coffee. "Cute," she said, then wandered away again. Jenny's face burned hotter than the mug she held. Taylor grinned. "Relax. She probably thinks we're off-duty girlfriends planning brunch." "That's worse," Jenny hissed. Taylor laughed. "Quiet, rich. How is that worse? Brunch implies commitment." Taylor leaned in slightly. "Jenny, we literally rode in a cruiser together for 9 months straight. If that's not commitment—" "I mean emotional commitment," Jenny cut in. Taylor softened. Maybe that's not a bad thing either. Jenny went still. Taylor didn't push. She just let the words hang there, soft but heavy. After a moment, Jenny took a breath. I don't know how to do this. Taylor tilted her head. Do what? Be open. Jenny stared at the table, at their linked hands. Wanting someone is easy. Letting them in, that's the part that feels like walking into a burning building. Taylor didn't flinch. Good thing you're trained for dangerous situations. Jenny shot her a glare. That's not funny. It is a little funny, Taylor said. Her smile gentle this time. Jenny, I'm not asking you to bare your soul tonight. I'm asking you to let me take you home after shift, and not overthink it. Jenny pressed her lips together. That might be harder. Then let it be hard, Taylor said. But let it be real. Jenny hated, absolutely hated, how her chest tightened at that. She looked out the window. Snow dusted the parking lot now, falling soft and steady. A trucker climbed into his rig, the distant rumble echoing off the storefronts. You're too calm about this, Jenny murmured. Taylor shrugged. No, I'm terrified. But I'd rather be terrified together than pretend nothing's happening. Jenny finally met her eyes. Taylor's were steady, warm, holding absolutely nothing back. Something in Jenny cracked, quietly, cleanly. So what happens after coffee? Jenny asked. Taylor squeezed her hand. Whatever you want. That's not helpful. Okay. Taylor leaned forward, voice low. Here's what I want. We finish our shift. I drive us back to the station. We get out of the uniform and the persona that comes with it. And then I walk you to your car. And if you let me, I'll kiss you goodnight. Jenny's heartbeat stumbled. You sound sure of yourself. I'm sure of how I feel, Taylor said simply. The rest, we can figure out slow. Jenny exhaled shakily. You keep saying slow, because you keep needing to hear it. Jenny hated that Taylor was right. She also didn't hate that Taylor understood her well enough to be right. They finished their coffee, hands drifting apart, only when they needed to reach for mugs or stretch fingers that had gone pleasantly numb from the warmth. When they finally slid out of the booth, Taylor pulled a few crumpled bills from her pocket for a tip. Jenny shrugged on her jacket. The moment they stepped outside, the cold cut clean through the air, but Jenny felt warmer than she had in hours. Snowflakes drifted into Taylor's hair. Jenny stared at them a little too long. Shift's not over, Jenny reminded her. Taylor smirked. No, but the best part of it has already started. Jenny rolled her eyes, but her smile betrayed her. They headed back to the cruiser. Jenny sat behind the wheel, hands hovering over the ignition. Taylor watched her, quiet, still, waiting. You ready? Jenny asked. For the rest of the shift, Taylor said, then leaned close enough that Jenny felt her breath warm her cheek, and everything after it. Jenny swallowed, turned the key, and drove into the quiet, snow-flecked night, aware of Taylor in a way that wasn't distracting, but grounding, electric, anchoring. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't a promise. It was the beginning of something that neither of them could deny now, something that felt very much like falling. The radio stayed quiet for the next stretch of their patrol, giving the city time to settle under the thickening snowfall. Street lamps cast hazy halos through the flakes, and every parked car looked like it had been dusted with powdered sugar. Jenny drove slowly, half because of the road conditions, half because speeding through this moment felt wrong. The cruiser's heater hummed low, warming their hands and flushing their cheeks. Taylor rested her elbow on the window, glancing at Jenny between the falling snow and the dashboard glow. You're calmer now. Jenny kept her eyes on the road. I'm processing. You always process like you're defusing a bomb. It keeps me alive, Taylor hummed thoughtfully. Maybe it's time to live a little too. Jenny shot her a look. You're insufferable. And yet, Taylor said with a smirk, you keep not kicking me out of the car. Jenny's lips twitched, betraying her. Unfortunately. Taylor turned her head, watching the snow swirl past the windshield. You ever think about what life would have been like if we got partnered sooner? Jenny didn't answer right away. The question brushed at something vulnerable, something she hadn't let herself consider. Sometimes, she admitted finally. Taylor blinked, surprised. Yeah? Yeah, Jenny said. We're good together. Taylor sat up a little straighter, warmth blooming in her expression. We are, Jenny swallowed. But timing matters. Taylor's voice softened. And this timing feels right? Jenny nodded once. Taylor's smile grew, but it wasn't cocky this time. It was careful, precious, like she didn't want to break the moment. Before either of them could say more, dispatch crackled to life. Unit 231, possible trespassing at the closed strip mall off Cypress. Caller reports seeing a figure behind one of the units. Jenny picked up the mic. 231 en route. Taylor straightened her vest. Trespassing at a strip mall in the snow, bold. Or stupid, Jenny muttered. They arrived to find the parking lot mostly dark, snow piling on abandoned shopping carts and broken signage. A long corridor stretched behind the building, poorly lit, half-fenced, an easy place to hide trouble. Jenny cut the lights. We go on foot, Taylor nodded. With you, always. They stepped into the cold, boots crunching softly. The air smelled faintly of old cardboard and damp concrete. Jenny's flashlight cut through the dark, slicing narrow paths across dumpsters and loading docks. Halfway down the corridor, a noise, soft, rustling. Jenny raised a hand. Hear that? Taylor drew closer, voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, on the right. They approached slowly, muscles tensed, adrenaline simmering. Jenny angled her light toward the corner. A figure jumped out. Jenny's hand instinctively went to her holster. Taylor's did too. Hey! Stop right! The figure froze, not a threat, not armed. A teenage girl in a thin hoodie, soaked through from the snow, shivering violently. Jenny lowered her hand. Shit! Taylor stepped forward, hands open. Hey, you're okay. We're not here to hurt you. The girl looked terrified, cheeks red from cold, breath hitching in uneven bursts. I wasn't doing anything, she stammered. I just needed somewhere dry. Jenny softened her voice. What's your name? Lila. That your backpack? Taylor asked gently, nodding to the ground. Lila nodded. You got somewhere to go? Jenny asked. The girl's eyes filled with tears before she shook her head once, sharp and terrified. Taylor shot Jenny a look, one loaded with unspoken communication. They'd handled cases like this before, runaways, kids slipping through cracks. Jenny spoke first. Okay, Lila, we're not going to arrest you. We're not taking you anywhere you don't want to go. But it's too cold for you to stay out here. You could get hurt. Taylor crouched to eye level. Let us at least get you warm at the station. Hot chocolate, heat, time to figure things out. No pressure, just warmth. Lila hesitated, lip trembling, then nodded. Jenny felt something release in her chest. Good, let's get you out of the cold. They led her back to the cruiser. Lila climbed in quietly, clutching her backpack with shaking hands. Jenny radioed dispatch with a neutral code. No need to scare the girl further. As they began the drive back, Taylor turned slightly, watching Lila in the rear view. You're safe now, she said gently. Lila sniffled, nodding. Jenny glanced at Taylor. Taylor's expression, soft, warm, steady, hit Jenny with an unexpected swell of emotion. This person sitting beside her wasn't just confident or funny or protective. She was good. Jenny felt her chest tighten, not out of fear, out of certainty, and that terrified her even more. Back at the station, the night. Shift was quiet, just the hum of vending machines and the low buzz of fluorescent lights that never seemed fully awake. Jenny guided Lila inside, while Taylor fetched a blanket from the supply closet. Lila hunched into it immediately, shoulders trembling less now that she wasn't being pelted by snow. Her wet shoes squeaked against the tile floor as Jenny led her to an empty interview room, one of the nicer ones, with soft lighting and a small round table instead of the cold metal interrogation setup. Taylor set a steaming styrofoam cup in front of her. Hot chocolate. Careful, it's magma. Lila sniffed it, testing, then took a small sip. Her whole body eased. Thank you. Jenny took the chair across from her. Taylor leaned against the wall, close enough to show support, far enough to give the girl space. Lila, Jenny said gently, you're not in trouble. We just want to understand what's going on. Lila stared into her cup. I didn't want to bother anyone. You're not bothering anyone, Taylor said, her voice low and warm. We're glad we found you. The girl's eyes darted up, searching, suspicious, but also desperate. You won't call my mom? Jenny exchanged a look with Taylor. There were procedures, but there was also discretion in cases like this. Compassion mattered as much as protocol. "We want to know why you ran," Jenny said. "We can't help if we don't know." Silence stretched. Lila's lip wobbled. Finally, she whispered, "My mom's boyfriend. He yells a lot, throws stuff, not at me, just around." Jenny's chest tightened. Taylor's jaw clenched. "Has he hurt you?" Taylor asked carefully. "No," Lila said quickly. "But last night he was really mad," and she yelled back, I couldn't stay. I didn't know where to go." Jenny softened her posture, leaning forward slightly. "You did the right thing. You protected yourself when the adults around you weren't." Lila's eyes filled again. "I didn't want to get her in trouble." "Your safety is in trouble," Taylor said. Her voice edged with a quiet fierceness that made Jenny's heart twist. "You deserve to feel safe at home. Every kid does." Jenny watched the girl's shoulders shake. A moment later, Lila wiped her cheeks with the back of her sleeve. "You don't have to go back tonight," Jenny said. "We can arrange a temporary stay. Somewhere warm, somewhere calm." "You'd do that?" Lila whispered. "Of course," Taylor said. "We would." Jenny felt it, the shift. Something inside her settled with a kind of clarity she hadn't expected. Taylor's compassion wasn't a show, wasn't a performance. It was who she was. It was genuine. And Jenny found herself loving that far more than the flirting or the confidence or the banter. Loving it in a way that frightened her and grounded her at the same time. After getting the paperwork started and calling a youth shelter they trusted, Jenny walked Lila to the lobby to wait with the supervisor on duty. When they stepped back into the hallway, Jenny exhaled slowly. Taylor was waiting at the end of the corridor, her hands tucked into her pockets, her expression softer than Jenny had ever seen it. "You okay?" Taylor asked. Jenny nodded. "Yeah, you?" Taylor shrugged one shoulder. "Seeing kids like that always hits me." Jenny stepped closer. "You handled her well." Taylor scoffed lightly. "You did most of the talking." That's not what she responded to. Taylor tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "You were gentle," Jenny said. "You made her feel safe." Taylor blinked, caught off guard. "Jenny, I'm serious." Jenny reached out on instinct and touched Taylor's arm, just a graze of her fingers, but it felt electric. "You have more empathy than half the department." Taylor let out a breath, the compliment clearly landing somewhere deep. "I just don't want people to hurt alone." Jenny looked at her, really looked, and something warm bloomed beneath her ribs. Not just attraction, admiration, respect. Something bigger. Taylor stepped closer, voice soft. "You've been quiet since we got back." "I'm thinking," Jenny admitted. "About?" "You." The air shifted, swift, charged. Taylor's breath hitched. "What about me?" Jenny hesitated only a moment. "That I've been keeping you at arm's length because it felt safer, not because I didn't feel anything." Taylor's voice came out barely above a whisper. "Jenny." Jenny swallowed. "And I don't want to keep doing that." Taylor's expression changed, softened, brightened, warmed all at once, like Jenny had handed her something fragile and priceless. "What do you want to do?" Taylor asked. Jenny reached for her hand. Taylor didn't just take it. She held it like she'd been waiting all night. "I want this," Jenny said. "Whatever this is." Taylor's smile spread, slow and breathtaking. "Then let's figure it out. Together." Jenny squeezed her hand, grounding herself in the warmth of Taylor's skin. "Shift's almost over." Taylor's eyes sparkled. "I know." "And after that?" Taylor stepped closer, close enough that her breath brushed Jenny's lips. "After that," Taylor whispered, "I get to walk you to your car." Jenny felt her pulse throb in her throat. "And," she breathed. Taylor's smile turned soft, intimate. "And kiss you goodnight." Jenny didn't look away. "Yeah," she murmured. "I want that." Taylor's thumb brushed the back of her hand. "So do I." The radio didn't interrupt. No calls pulled them apart. The world stayed quiet. And for the first time on night shift, Jenny hoped the sunrise would take its time. Shift officially ended at 5:58 a.m., but Jenny and Taylor stayed behind to finish the last bit of paperwork. The station buzzed with early morning energy, day shift officers clocking in, night shift yawning into coffee mugs, the faint scent of cheap pastries warming in the break room. Jenny typed her last note into the system, hit submit, and leaned back in her chair. Her whole body felt wired, humming with exhaustion and adrenaline, and something else entirely, something tender and terrifying. Taylor closed her laptop with a soft click. Done? Yeah, Jenny murmured. They both stood at the same time, a small smile tugging at each of their mouths at the synchronicity. Jenny shrugged into her duty jacket, Taylor doing the same, their movements slow, deliberate, almost shy. The sun wasn't quite up yet, but the sky outside the station windows was softening to a pale gray. Snow still fell in gentle sheets, frosting the world in muted light. Taylor brushed her hair back from her face and nodded toward the side door. Walk me? Jenny's answering nod was small but certain. Yeah. They stepped out into the cold, boots crunching through the fresh blanket of snow. The lot was nearly empty. Someone across the street scraped their windshield, humming loudly. A bus rumbled by, its headlights slicing the twilight. But around Jenny and Taylor, the world felt strangely quiet, protected, private. Jenny shoved her hands in her pockets, breath fogging in the air. Taylor walked close beside her, close enough that their arms brushed in little passing sparks of warmth. When they reached Jenny's car, they stopped. Neither made a move to open a door. Neither seemed in a hurry to break the moment. Taylor looked at her, really looked. Not with teasing, not with confidence, but with something soft and deeply vulnerable. Jenny, she said quietly, I want to kiss you. The words landed like a touch, warm and shocking. Jenny's breath hitched. I know. Taylor stepped just a little closer. But I'm not going to unless you ask. Jenny's heart thudded, not out of panic, out of something far more dangerous, trust. She lifted her eyes to Taylor's. Come here, Jenny whispered. Taylor's inhale stuttered. You sure? Yeah, Jenny breathed. I'm sure. That was all Taylor needed. She stepped forward, closing the space between them with careful, deliberate softness. Her gloved hand rose to cup Jenny's cheek, slow, testing, giving Jenny every chance to pull away. Jenny didn't. She leaned into it. Taylor let out a quiet, shaky exhale and pressed her forehead against Jenny's. Snow caught in Taylor's eyelashes, melting down her cheeks in tiny droplets that looked like tears but weren't. Say it, Taylor murmured, her voice barely a breath. Jenny tilted her chin up. Kiss me, and Taylor did. It wasn't rushed, wasn't greedy, wasn't anything like the cliches about partners crossing a line. It was soft, real, certain. Taylor kissed her like she'd been waiting all night, all month, maybe longer. Jenny's hands found their way to Taylor's jacket, gripping gently, anchoring herself in the warmth and solidity of her. The kiss deepened, slow, careful, sweet. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for anything except truth. The kind that made Jenny's chest expand with something she couldn't name yet, but felt down to her bones. When they broke apart, their breaths mingled in white clouds. Taylor kept her forehead touching Jenny's, her voice thick with emotion. Jenny, damn, Jenny laughed, quiet, shaky, disbelieving. Yeah, Taylor pulled back just enough to see her face. You okay? Jenny nodded. I'm better than okay. Something eased in Taylor's expression, like tension unwinding, like fear dissolving, like hope taking root. Jenny touched Taylor's jacket again, letting her fingers linger. So, what now? Taylor smiled, the kind that lit her whole face. Now, you go home, I go home, we sleep. And later tonight, she brushed her thumb across Jenny's cheek. We see where this goes. Jenny's chest warmed. I'd like that. Taylor leaned in, kissing her once more, short, soft, firmly grounding. Good. They stood there another long moment, snow falling around them, the world quiet and tender in a way Jenny had never noticed before. Finally, Taylor stepped back. Text me when you get inside. I'll pretend it's about safety and not because I'm stupidly into you. Jenny shook her head, smiling despite herself. You're unbelievable. Yeah, Taylor said. But now I'm unbelievable and yours. Jenny's breath caught. She didn't correct her. She didn't want to. Taylor gave her one last smile, bright, warm, devastating, and walked toward her own car, glancing back once with that look Jenny was starting to crave. Jenny stood in the snow, watching her go, heart pounding with the truth she could finally admit. Something had changed, and she didn't want to go back. Taylor's taillights glowed red through the curtain of falling snow, then disappeared around the corner. Jenny stood alone in the quiet lot for a few seconds longer, letting cold air nip at her cheeks, grounding herself, steadying her heartbeat. She climbed into her car, shut the door, and exhaled a long breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. Not with fear, with relief, with wanting. With the crackling awareness that her life had just shifted course. Quietly and irrevocably. Inside her apartment, she sent the text Taylor asked for. Home. The reply came immediately. Good. Sleep. I'll see you tonight, partner. Jenny pressed the phone against her chest, an embarrassing gesture she hoped no one on earth would ever witness. That night, when she returned to the station for their next shift, Taylor was waiting by the lockers, not leaning flirtatiously, not smirking, just standing there, eyes bright, like she'd been listening for Jenny's footsteps. Jenny felt her stomach flip. Hi, Taylor said softly. Hi. They stared at each other for a beat too long. Taylor stepped closer, dropping her voice. Is this okay? Me waiting for you like this? Jenny swallowed. Yeah, it's okay. Taylor's shoulders loosened. Good. They walked to the cruiser together, brushing arms more times than necessary, but neither saying a word about it. The city was quieter tonight. Snow still fell, but less aggressively, soft flakes drifting like feathers. An hour into the shift, they were parked on a side street overlooking the river, eating protein bars and sipping hot iced tea from the thermos Taylor insisted on bringing. Feels different, Taylor murmured. Jenny didn't pretend not to understand. It does. Good different. Jenny glanced over. The cruiser light cast Taylor's face in a soft amber glow, highlighting the curve of her jaw, the faint crease near her left eye, the quiet sincerity in her gaze. Yeah, Jenny said. Good. Taylor smiled, small but real. Then I want to ask you something, Jenny braced. Okay. Not official, not big, just. Taylor hesitated, then looked directly into her eyes. Do you want us to keep this between us for now, just until we know what we're doing? Jenny didn't even have to think about it. Yes, please. Taylor nodded. Good, I agree. This is ours, not the department's. Silence settled in the car, warm, not awkward. Then Taylor reached over and brushed her fingers along Jenny's hand, slow and tender. Jenny curled her fingers around hers instantly. I was afraid, Taylor whispered. Of what? That last night was a moment, Taylor said. A spark, something you'd wake up from and talk yourself out of. Jenny inhaled slowly. No, I'm here. Taylor let out a shaky breath. So am I. Suddenly a call crackled over the radio. Nothing dangerous, nothing threatening. Just a noise complaint on Pine Street. Jenny put the cruiser in gear, but Taylor didn't let go of her hand until the last possible second. Their fingers slipped apart, lingering, a silent promise threaded between them. They responded to the call, settled it with their usual ease, and climbed back into the cruiser. And that's when it happened. Jenny put the keys in the ignition, paused, and looked at Taylor. Really looked. I want this, Jenny said quietly. Not just the moment, not just the kiss. I want us. Taylor's chest rose in a slow, uneven inhale. Jenny. But I'm scared, Jenny admitted. And I'm going to be slow and messy. And sometimes I'm going to overthink everything and make us talk about feelings at the worst possible times. Taylor leaned across the console and pressed her forehead to Jenny's, breath warm against her lips. Then I'll be patient, Taylor whispered, and I'll show up. And if you overthink, I'll remind you I'm not going anywhere. Jenny closed her eyes, letting Taylor's presence wash through her, calm, steady, real. When she opened them again, Taylor was watching her with a softness that broke something open inside her. I'm falling for you, Jenny murmured. Taylor kissed her, slow, sure, reverent. I already fell, she whispered. Jenny's breath caught, and the night shifted again, not with adrenaline, not with danger, with possibility, with love, with a future neither of them had expected, but both of them wanted to fight for. For the next week, something subtle, but undeniably real shifted between Jenny and Taylor. Not obvious enough for anyone else to notice, not loud or dramatic, just warmer. When they walked together, their arms brushed more often than coincidence allowed. When they split duties, they looked for each other first. When they sat in the cruiser, Jenny could feel Taylor's presence the way you can feel sunlight through a window, soft but impossible to ignore. And nobody knew which made it theirs, but nothing stays uncomplicated forever. On Thursday night, halfway through their shift, a call came in about a break-in at a pharmacy. Jenny and Taylor arrived first, lights cutting through the snow, the air sharp with cold and adrenaline. "All right," Taylor said, scanning the alley. "Doors busted, probably still inside." Jenny nodded. "We go in together. Always together." They stepped through the door, weapons drawn, voices loud and commanding. "Police, come out with your hands." A figure bolted from behind the counter. Jenny lunged after him, Taylor right behind her. The chase cut through the aisles, past shelves of cold medicine and dusty holiday displays. The man was fast, desperate fast. "Stop!" Jenny shouted, rounding the end cap. Her boot slipped. Only a fraction of a second, but enough. The man shoved her hard as she collided with him. Jenny slammed into a low shelf of cough syrup bottles, pain bursting up her ribs. "Jenny," Taylor's voice cracked through the chaos. The man darted past her, sprinting out the back door. Jenny struggled to catch her breath. "Go, I'm fine," Taylor didn't hesitate. Because she trusted Jenny's assessment, not because she stopped caring. She tore after the suspect, powerful and unyielding. Jenny forced herself up, breath sharp, ribs screaming. She stumbled outside in time to see Taylor tackling the man into a snowbank with clean, practiced force. Backup arrived minutes later. The suspect was cuffed and hauled off. Statements were taken, evidence logged. But the moment the last officer walked away, Taylor turned to Jenny with fury and fear written across her face. "You're hurt," she said, voice tight. Jenny pressed a hand to her ribs. "Just bruised." "That's not fine," Taylor snapped. "He could have broken something," Jenny blinked. Taylor never snapped, not at her. "Hey," Jenny said gently, "I'm okay." Taylor exhaled shakily, running a hand through her hair. "You scared me." Jenny stepped closer, lowering her voice. "And if it had been you getting shoved into a shelf, I would have lost my mind. That's what this job does." Taylor's eyes glistened, not tears, but emotion she couldn't swallow. "I can't lose you," she whispered. Jenny's chest tightened. "You're not going to." "You don't know that," Taylor said, voice breaking. "This job, these calls, anything can happen." Jenny reached up and cupped Taylor's cheek with her gloved hand, brushing her thumb lightly along her jaw. "If anything happens to me," Jenny murmured, "you'll notice. Because I'll haunt your locker and dump your coffee out every night." Taylor let out a half laugh, half sob. "That's not funny." "It's a little funny," Taylor leaned into her touch. "I care about you so much, Jenny. Too much. And that scares me more than any call we've ever taken." Jenny's heartbeat pulsed against her ribs. "Then we're scared together." Taylor closed her eyes, letting Jenny's forehead rest against hers, breath mingling in the cold air. "You're everything I didn't know I was waiting for," Taylor whispered. Jenny's breath caught. "And you're everything I didn't think I could have." Snow drifted around them in soft spirals, settling on Taylor's shoulders and Jenny's hair. Neither moved. Neither wanted to break the fragile, perfect stillness. Finally, Jenny said, "Take me home." Taylor nodded, sealing the moment with the softest kiss to Jenny's cheek. "Yeah, always." Back at Jenny's apartment, they stood just inside the doorway, shedding the cold. Jenny dropped her keys into the ceramic dish. Taylor smirked at the googly-eyed cat and stepped closer. "Take off your jacket," Taylor murmured. "Let me see." Jenny complied. Taylor lifted her shirt gently, eyes running over the bruising blossoming across her ribs. Taylor exhaled slowly. "Damn." "See?" Jenny said lightly. "Just bruised?" But Taylor didn't laugh. She pressed a feather-soft kiss to the bruise, her lips warm, grounding. Jenny's breath hitched. "Don't scare me like that again," Taylor whispered. "Don't make me care like this if you're going to run when it gets real," Jenny countered. Taylor lifted her eyes, steady, unflinching. "I'm not running." Jenny nodded. "Good, because I'm in this, all the way." Taylor's expression broke into something soft and bright, something Jenny had never seen anyone direct at her before. "Come here," Taylor whispered. Jenny did. Their kiss was deeper than the first, slow, sure, certain. A kiss that didn't ask, "Do you want this?" but said, "We're doing this, together." When they finally parted, breathless and warm, Taylor rested her forehead against Jenny's. "You're mine," Taylor murmured. Jenny smiled, whispering back, "And you're mine." And for once, the night shift felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Jenny didn't sleep much that day, not because of pain, though her ribs protested every time she shifted, but because every time she closed her eyes, she saw Taylor kneeling in her apartment, brushing her thumb along the bruise with a tenderness that felt like a vow. When her alarm buzzed that evening, Jenny got up slowly, dressed with care she usually reserved for court appearances. Hair neat, uniform crisp, boots polished. She caught herself checking the mirror more than usual. Those were rookie moves, and she was not a rookie. Still, she wanted to look good. Taylor was already at the station when Jenny arrived. She looked up from adjusting her vest, and the smile that broke across her face made Jenny's stomach dip. "You okay?" Taylor asked, eyes flicking instinctively to Jenny's ribs. "Yeah," Jenny said. "Just sore." Taylor stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You look good." "You're just saying that." "No," Taylor said softly. "I'm not." Their shift began quietly. Snow had stopped. Roads were mostly empty. The city felt like it was holding its breath. They handled a few calls, nothing major, and with each hour that passed, the space between them softened further. Jenny found herself reaching into the glove box, and Taylor's hand brushed hers. Taylor leaned over the laptop to type a report, and Jenny's shoulder met hers naturally, instinctively. By 4 a.m., everything in the city was still. Jenny parked near the river, an unofficial break spot known only to night shift. Ice had crusted over the water, shimmering under the street lamps. Taylor shifted in her seat. "I have a question." Jenny's pulse kicked up. "Okay." "Do you want to go out with me?" Taylor asked. No teasing, no smirk, just quiet hope. Jenny looked at her for a long moment, feeling the truth settle like a warm hand over her heart. "Yeah," she said. "I do." Taylor smiled, small, stunned, tender. "Tomorrow night? After shift? Doesn't have to be fancy. Just us. No uniforms." Jenny snorted. "Please? You'd show up in a suit and make me look underdressed." Taylor shrugged. "Maybe." Jenny's smile softened. "Yes, tomorrow, a date." Taylor's breath shimmered in the cold air between them. A real date. They let the moment settle, warm, fragile, perfect. Then the radio crackled with the final call of their shift. Nothing urgent, just a false alarm from a residential security system. They handled it quickly, professionally, together. When they finally returned to the station, dawn was beginning to brush the horizon in pale pink. Taylor grabbed Jenny's bag without asking, carrying it like she'd been waiting for an excuse to. Jenny rolled her eyes, but didn't protest. They walked to the parking lot, boots crunching on salt. "Last night," Taylor murmured, "when I said I'd walk you to your car, I meant it for every hour." "Night?" Jenny stopped beside her driver's door. "And I'll let you, every night." Taylor stepped in front of her, close enough that Jenny could feel heat radiating off her even in the morning chill. "Come here," Taylor whispered. Jenny did. The kiss was deeper this time, built on something solid now, not just adrenaline or confession. Taylor's hands framed Jenny's jaw. Jenny's fingers curled into the front of Taylor's jacket. They kissed like they weren't rushing, like nothing around them demanded their attention, like they finally had time. When they parted, Jenny's breath came out soft. "Taylor." "Yeah?" "Don't fall apart on me." Taylor rested her forehead against Jenny's. "I won't. Not as long as you stay." Jenny closed her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere." Taylor kissed her once more, gentle, grateful, and stepped back. "Text me when you get home," Taylor murmured. Jenny smiled. "Always." Taylor watched her get into her car, watched her start the ignition, watched her drive off with a look that wasn't just affection. It was love beginning to take shape. And Jenny, for once in her life, didn't run from it. She drove home with the sunrise warming the snow-covered streets, thinking about their date, thinking about everything they'd survived together and everything they could become. Night shift had always been honest. It was honest enough to reveal the truth between them, honest enough to let something new begin, something real, something steady, something worth staying for. Jenny pulled into her parking spot, looked at her phone, and typed 2 words, "Home safe." Taylor's reply came seconds later. "Good." Can't wait for tonight. Jenny smiled into the quiet of her apartment. For the first time in years, she wanted the day to pass quickly, because tonight wasn't another shift. Tonight was theirs, and it felt like the start of something beautiful. The end. If you love this slow-burn sapphic romance between two night shift partners, make sure to subscribe for more WLW love stories filled with tension, tenderness, and emotional depth.